and welcome to another episode of Starship Gaming. And today we are going to look at my finds for September 2019. First up is Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles for the PlayStation 1. I got this one at a local thrift store. I paid only $1 for it. The disc isn't in too bad a shape. The case has a little crack on it, but that's easily replaced. So $1, not too bad. Next up is Roll Cage Stage 2 for the Sony PlayStation 1. I picked this up at a gaming stall inside of a local flea market. I paid $2 for it, which isn't too bad. The disc was in mostly good shape. A few light scratches, but nothing too bad. Next is Cyberdeck. Yes, Cyberdeck. Just like that, for the Sony PlayStation 1. I picked this one up from that same vendor for about $3. Not the best game in the world. Honestly, it would have been better if it was $1. But, apparently, the vendor I got this from, some of his games were reasonably priced. Some of them were just too outrageous. But I didn't have this one, so I thought I'd add it to my collection. Next up is Hydrocross for the Sony PlayStation 1. If you haven't already knew, I buy a lot of PlayStation 1 games. That's mostly what I collect. I paid $2 for this one. The disc was in excellent shape. Got it from that same vendor. So not too bad. $2. Next up is TNN Motorsports Hardcore TR for the Sony PlayStation 1. There's actually a game that came before this called TNN Motorsports, TNN Motorsports Hardcore 4x4. And that game was the predecessor to this game. Now, TNN Motorsports Hardcore 4x4, I had it when I was a kid. I'm thinking my mom's friend gave that one to me, and I think the reason that I received it was because her son, he failed in school, and she got rid of all of his games and sold his PlayStation 1 to a neighbor. And this was probably around I'm gonna say April or May of 2000 that this happened. But anyway, we're way off topic. This game, it's the predecessor to Hardcore 4x4. I got this one for $2. The disc is in really good shape. The case, as you notice on the right side, that's all cracked. So that's going to have to be replaced in the near future. But other than that, the disc was in good shape. Actually, the disc looked new, so it was in pretty decent shape. So I got this one actually from a yard sale. The following ones you're going to see after this, all of the rest of them after this, are ones that I got from the same yard sale for $2 a piece. Not only that, but the only finds I really found this month were Sony PlayStation 1 games. Of course, I'm a PlayStation 1 collector, and if you've already noticed, that's what in most of my videos, that's what I collect every month. Of course, I collect Super Nintendo and other stuff. So let's march on. Next up is Jarrett and Labonte Stock Car Racing for the Sony PlayStation 1. I picked this one up from that same yard sale for $2, and honestly, the case looks like new, and the disc inside looks like new. So I don't know if the person who had this, if they ever actually played it or what. I actually rented this from a movie gallery years ago, I think around 2003, and I played it. Wasn't too bad of a racing game. Not as good as the NASCAR games, but it was, for a racing game, decent enough. So I got this one for $2. Next up is EA Sports NASCAR Thunder 2002 for the Sony PlayStation 1. And if you really want to know, The rest of the games that we'll be talking about are some sort of racing game for the PlayStation 1. Of course, racing games are, some of them are fairly common, some of them aren't, but I like to collect ones that I don't have. So, I got this one for $2. I never did play this one, but I believe I played PS2 version at a friend's house around 2005. And I know you all watch these videos and you're like, oh, how are you good at naming all these dates? And I have a memory for dates for the most part. Sometimes. So anyway, EA Sports NASCAR Finder 2002, $2 from the same yard sale. Next up is V-Rally 2. Well, actually, I'll take that back. Need for Speed V-Rally 2, or V whatever. It's a Need for Speed game for the Sony PlayStation 1. I had a copy of this before. Around 2008, I picked one up at a yard sale, along with Small Soldiers, which Small Soldiers for PlayStation 1, I need a complete copy of it. This wasn't too bad of a game. For a Need for Speed game, Need for Speed, they're just typical racing games. So, nothing too exciting, but you get the gist of it. So, I got this one for $2 from that same yard sale. Next up is Vigilante 8 Second Offense for the Sony PlayStation 1. And if you haven't ever played these games, they're basically very similar to Twisted Metal. And I think that's what they were going for. Of course, these games also released for the Nintendo 64. If you ever played them on that, but I got this one from that same yard sale for $2. Of course, if you haven't played Vigilante 8 or Vigilante 8 Second Offense, I highly recommend it. They're pretty decent games, and honestly, I think the series should have continued. For some reason, they decided not to. Not quite sure why, but it was a pretty decent series. Of course, if you've ever seen the infamous Vigilante 8 commercial from back in the day, you need to look that up right now. So, anyway, I got this for $2. Next up is ATV Quad Power Racing for the Sony PlayStation 1. There's not much I can say about this game. It's racing with ATVs. Picked this up for $2 from that same yard sale. Not a bad deal. The disc is in really good shape. Case is in pretty decent shape. What more could I say? Next up is IHRA Motorsports Drag Racing. This was actually, well, let me backtrack. It's for the Sony PlayStation 1. Now we can continue. It's actually made by Bethesda, which, Bethesda did a lot of games like this back in the day. And it's not a bad game. I've played it before. I've had a copy of it in my shop. If you don't already know, I own my own gaming shop. It sells retro and new games. Anyway, it's not a bad game. I picked this one up for $2 from that same yard sale, so not too bad. Next up is Driver 2 for the Sony PlayStation 1. I own a greatest hits version of this, and I figured I needed a black label, so I got this for $2 from the same yard sale. Not too shabby. Next up is Gran Turismo 2 for the Sony PlayStation 1. Once again, I owned a copy of this a long time ago, very long time ago, and I think it was like I said earlier, my friend's mom, or my mom's, I'm getting off track. My mom's friend gave it to me. So I think that's how I ended up playing it. But anyway, I got this one for $2 also from that same yard sale. Now we're going to get to a few accessories here. This is a memory card. It's shaped like a CD case, so it fits among your PlayStation discs. I got this for $1, but there's a catch. Instead of 4 memory cards, there was only 1 in there, which for $1 isn't too bad. If I want to complete the other ones, I just have to hop on eBay or search around and get the other memory cards to kind of complete the little collection there. So for $1, not too bad. But it's the next thing we're about to talk about, and the last one on our list, of stuff that I picked up recently that will really blow your mind. This was made by Interact. It is a Goldberg memory card for the Sony PlayStation 1. You heard that correctly. Now, there's nothing too special about this. It wasn't bundled with any games or anything. You could walk into your typical Walmart or Kmart or Ames department store, wherever you shop for your video games, and pick one of these up. These were more or less just a collector's item. They're on the back, it states there was about 100,000 of them made. So there's a pretty decent amount of them out there, which really doesn't make them too rare. What's ironic is a week before I received this one, the gaming stall that was in the flea market where I mentioned I got 3 games from, they had one of these for sale for $25, and I ended up getting this one for $1 from that yard sale that I mentioned. So that gaming stall is definitely, I've determined as of the finding of this, they are way too expensive on their stuff, and I don't know how they're still in business. So I determined that gaming stall was a little too expensive for their games. I don't know how they stay in business. I guess it's pure luck, or they're apparently, selling stuff enough to pay for their booth rent, which is probably like, for that many booths, about $70 or $80. But, not to sound like I have a Napoleonic complex or anything, or whatever you would call that. Some people I know call it King of Siam syndrome. But I don't, I don't have that towards other gaming stores. It's just, I'm not like that. I know some gaming stores have been like that against me, but I've never been like that. I just see it as, being fair to each other. You be good to me, I'll be good to you. But yeah, they had this for $25 at that gaming booth, and then like I said, a week later I found this at a yard sale for $1, and I just, it baffles me that I found one. So I added this one to my collection, which is really, really great. Like I said, I got it at a yard sale. That same yard sale where I just, you get the gist. You're still following me. So, yeah. So, those are my gaming finds for the month of September 2019. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out if you do. Don't forget to, stick around and check out our other videos that we do. And until next time, I'll see you. Oh, I forgot to mention, don't forget to hit the bell. Now I'll see you. See ya.